Well, and also you have to think about the partnership of, with these environmentalist
Yeah.
groups. I mean, I just want to reach out at, we're not the enemy, you're not the enemy. And I think that we obviously share common ground, for keeping our areas clean and keeping the forest clean. And I think,
Well, and
what do
healthy.
you see? What do you see for the partnership?
Well, I think really it's an understanding and education. They've been told so often and for so long that we're bad and we rape the land. And the first thing you do when you hear miners is somebody throws up a picture and they show, all these monitors just blazing down a hill hydraulically, and that stopped. And the reason it stopped is because the farmers showed the miner that, hey, that actually silts up our land and we can't use it, so it causes a problem.
Right.
But most people don't understand that's not illegal to do.
Right.
It's just that we have to respect our neighbors and make sure that that's contained and that our mining process doesn't go downriver. And there's so many
Right.
laws and rules and regulations that prevents us from contaminating our neighbors, B, the stream, and so we've gotten better and better and better, that we've actually become more environmentally friendly than I think most people understand.
Right.
And that's what we have to get out into their arenas, into their circles, and
Right.
share with them.
Right.
One of the things that it happened about 3 years ago, Delta was up at Sonora Fairgrounds, and our governor, which is very green, and rightfully so, I guess, was traveling down from his place. I believe he's got a place up in Twain Harte or something like that, and he stopped at the fair to say hi to the people at the Democratic booth and whatnot. And we chased him around the fairground, almost got arrested, but we won't go into that. So we backed off, and finally one of our members actually spoke up while they were talking to the press, and he says, why don't you come over and take a look at our trash pile?
Yeah.
And well, how can a person that's endeared into the environmental side not pay attention to that? And so
Right.
they did. They came over. We had a 20-foot display of trash that we pulled out of the river at previous times, and they took, him and his wife browsed over that and started asking questions.
Nice.
And it wasn't soon after that, 10 to 15 minutes, we actually had his hands in the water. He was panning for gold. And all of a sudden, that booth that he'd spent almost an hour and a half trying to avoid wasn't such a bad booth, and actually got a very nice write-up in the Democrat paper up there and everything else. And that's what we have to do. We have to actually bring them into our fold and show them that, listen, we're not people that go out and tear apart our because we live there. Most of the guys live up there. Most of the guys have places up there. And face it, mine owners, claim owners, are property owners. It's real property.
Yeah.
We don't want that to go to waste. Most of us have had claims for 10, 15 years. Some of us had in our family for hundreds of years.
Right.
And we don't want that to go south. We have those claims for a reason. They're profitable. Most of us will camp on them, we'll visit them, so we don't want an area that's torn up. We want an area that's nice that we can take our family to.
Sure.
And enjoy the weekend out there mining, So.
Well, it's interesting too. I know that Delta or Stockton chapter has reached out, and I'll laughingly call it the Lion's Den.
Yeah.
But, you began to reach out to some of these groups, and now you've, kind of become a mainstay of their fairs and festivals, and they actually call and say, hey, you guys are showing up, right? Talk a little bit about that.
Well, it all really started with Salmon Festival at Knight's Ferry, and they were very, very nervous about letting us in because, again, it's a green area. They're there to save the salmon and save the Friends of the River and those kinds of things where they're there about the pristine Stanislaus and whatnot. And they were very worried that we'd have some problems, some clashes between the groups. And I kept assuring them that no, we wouldn't have any problems, and that I think once they saw our setup, they'd be very impressed and realize that we do have environmental value for the show. And so we laughingly called it going into the mouth of the lion. And we went up there, and everybody was nervous. And we put on our booths. We had about 10 feet, 10, maybe 20 feet, because we did an L shape there of all of our trash and things like that we pulled out of the rivers. And then we did about another 10 feet of panning for the kids. And so, they would come over and very standoffish, very, yeah, minors. And
Yeah.
the kids don't know any different, so they got their hands in the water. They're enjoying.
Right.
Well, as they're doing it, how can the parents say no?
Right.
So then we got little gems down in there with little gold. We actually use real gold in our panning troughs, and we usually give them a little piece of it. It's just a little flake, so it's not really nothing, but they got really gold, But as they're standing there watching their kids pan, now their eyes pan over to our trash section.
Right.
And they start looking and they start asking questions and they start realizing that, oh, this isn't what I thought.
Right.
This is something totally different. There's an environmental value here. I didn't know that they did this. And that's the biggest thing that we hear is, I didn't know.
Right.
And that's where the education comes in. So now we're in 5, 6, maybe 7 years into it, maybe, I don't know. I don't remember how many years, but we are a mainstay. They call up, they send us an email every year. You're definitely going to be there, right? You're definitely going to be there, because we do attract a lot of kids, and it's something to see that you have all these environmentalists, save the environmentalists, and their kids are enjoying themselves and learning the value of the stream while they have their hands on the pans and the panning troughs, and we're showing them what we take out and how we're making the rivers safer for them and their children
And
their
that's the big
children
thing.
to come.
That's the big thing, is we're spreading that word that we are truly as environmentally sound in our pursuit, if you would, not only in getting the minerals or the rocks, whatever, out of the
Taking
stream,
the
but
values
also
out, yeah.
taking out things that are going to hurt people and things that are a nuisance or an eyesore.